Here we go. We got about 15 minutes left. Well, 13 minutes now. Close. It's Friday afternoon. This is where you make your bets, right? We've made short-term plays all week. Now you need to make your decision whether you're going to push those over the weekend, leave them unrealized, or whether you're going to take those profits and add new contracts on. You got to make that decision yourself. Obviously, the risky play is to push all those short-term positions over the weekend, and you're sort of doubling down on your bet. Could double that. Could double the gain you have. You're up 100%, might become 200%. You push it over to Monday. I'm a little more faint-hearted. I've almost all across the board transitioned. I've gone from weeklies and Feb monthlies on almost every ticker you see over here, top of the list. Took profit and added on new contracts, mostly going towards March, because we're coming out of this sort of short-term day to swing trade mindset and going into a little bit more long-term as we get a little bit more stable, go into all-time highs, no supply above us. There's no reason to limit ourselves in terms of how far price can go, right? So that's my thinking of going into close. Also, considering that we went into all-time highs and haven't really pushed through the day, I don't really see Monday opening us up much higher. So it's not even worth it to try to push those. Get the points on the board. Don't go home empty-handed, right? There's no reason why you can't take this profit here and add a new play on, right? It doesn't even make sense. There's no reason why you can't take profit from this move and add new contracts. Like it would be a little bit too far. If you bought down here, you bought Marches and later, then yes, you would need to be pushing it here, but not if you bought February monthlies and weeklies. The only thing we're pushing are the SPY 400s because those were already a meme down here anyway, right? So other than that, being very, it's not even that I'm not being risk on. We've certainly been risk on all week, and we're going further risk on, but we want to win, right? We're not here to lose money. So took those, pretty happy with it. I've been scaling up positions, right? So as we come through close, there's plenty of, we're going to look at tickers. I just want to see the market here, what's going on at close. There's plenty of tickers that are going to get scaled up going to close. So it's not like we went from almost being 100% in the market and now I'm 100% cash. Absolutely not. So that's not what happened at all. I at least continued the sizing of the positions prior, just with different dates, right? That's all that changed. And I'm using this close. Again, everything's going to happen at close, so you're just going to give me a moment here as we go through, because I'm going to be adding all the positions at the very end of close based on what we get for movement. So let's just take a look through real quick here. Let me show you positions that we need to think about. VKTX, FLNT, FLGT, these are all positions that transitioned. RESN transitioned. Anything that looks like this here today, right? Of course, needs to be apps as well. Skills, same thing. KPTI, I don't think anyone take this trade. This is just your day trade, right? KPTI. Penn, same thing. New long position. I don't want to be in just the short-term position here, so took profit on that and going for it on the long side. SunPower, VRM, I talked about. Nail, Home Builders, SSYS, all transitions, right? All transitions. EXPI, Win, all transitions. Right here on this level, going to be putting some more on at close here. I'm going to be going up to about 120 to about 122. So if you take a look here, 120, 122, that's what we're looking for on the Win. In similar sizing across the other travel charts. Zoom, of course, same thing, right? Zoom, that you can't, the problem with a position like this, you cannot be in a short-term position here. Because if, let's say you're in February's, yes, you should be in some Februaries, and we're going to capture some Februaries, but your true position here should be longer, because you should have a longer mindset. You don't want to be finished right here. This is the February 19th cutoff. You want more time than that. You need more time than that to push a position like this. So don't short yourself, right? Don't get into a situation where you can't push a position. You know you're going to push this position. There's zero chance you're not going to push this position. So don't cut yourself off, right? Give yourself legs. Give yourself legs. You don't need to go crazy. Like, JJR just said he got May calls. You don't need to go as deep as JJR is with May, but don't hurt yourself with just doing February, right? It's too many times you'll find yourself, even myself, I'll go a little too hard on the short term because I want to get that capital right now, and you cut your legs off and you can't run, right? Because that expiration comes in and you're done for, right? There's no way you can't do anything else, right? So we're gonna be careful with that. Let's go through a few more. I talked about MRSN as well. DT is the same thing. Let's just look at the daily. It's more important. Up here to the trend line, right? We're in between a couple consolidations here. You have to be careful with a position like this, right? We've done very well. You have to be able to take this while still looking to go further, which is, again, transition through here. Very important to get that. AON from yesterday, those of you that were in the call before close, I picked this up right at close. AON, this position here needs to be transitioned because this is not how price moves on this chart whatsoever. So the likelihood that this opens higher on Monday is pretty low. So we can buy more on Monday, right? Take the profit. This was super unexpected. So, you can go take a look at those. I mean, there's no reason why, under our rules, we want to push positions. But when we've been trading so short term, these are not positions that you can allow for pullbacks and then wait a week to consolidate and keep pushing the position, right? You can't be lying to yourself with those. There's a lot of positions that are doing the same. I think overall, we've got most of the plan down. So I think you guys saw them in chat. You should have already made your decisions. No one should be going, well, I don't really know. Maybe I should make a decision. Like these things should have already been done. I already brought them up. Upwork over here is the most difficult one, I would say, here for today. I'm going to be looking to take this at close, take it off at close, and I'll reevaluate on Monday. This candle here, I'm not a big fan of. You're probably going to pull back into the support here, right? It's one of those positions. So come close, I'll be completely out of the position. It's extremely bullish, should get further upside. But it's just a little bit too much to push this further. Again, these are short terms. These are just February monthlies, right? Just February monthlies. And it's a little bit too much to push further. DBX we've been talking about, get rejected underneath. You can't, in this situation, as soon as that rejection happens, you can't just sit in that position and go, I'll push it into Monday. If you have February monthlies, you cannot say, I have time. You don't have time. What do you mean you have time? It's 2 weeks, your expiration. You're going to lose like 50% of your value if it opens lower on Monday, right? So you have to transition that position. So, keep these things in mind. Keep these things in mind, especially with the way we've treated this week so far, right? Look at this candle. Is this candle really going to open us up higher Monday? No, it's not going to. So don't kid yourself, right? Don't kid yourself. Even though we've been bullish, close can certainly change things here. If we go very bid close, then we need to keep that in mind. But that's what we transition for, right? We transition so that if the market continues to go up, guess what? We're going to get it. We're going to capture it with a new exponential. So screw it, right? You get the profit and you get more gains to come, right? We don't need to think it doesn't need to all be about right now, right? We're looking further into the future. We're looking for the next play. We can't get stuck with what we've already got, right? So let's see what we get we're getting a lot of tightening. We pretty much got exactly what we talked about this morning in terms of a day. If we look just across, that's the SPY. Look at the tech. Tech really put the points on earlier. This could make close pretty interesting because if you break this trend line here, it's possible you get some bid close here. We got 4 minutes. You could get a candle up over here. It's going to be very interesting to see. But this price movement, we've basically been break even from the open, right? Across the one thing, of course, being value is the most bullish. It's continued the trend, which is exactly what we talked about. This should be expected. You get this whip here, and price just continues on the trend line, right? That's exactly what we looked for, expected. This doesn't really need to do anything else. It should be able to hold the trend line. If we just take a look over here, this almost always leads to opening a little bit lower, right? It's just, we talked about it. Here's the SPY candle. For example, this one over here, right? It almost always leads to being lower. When you close on a support like that with a hanging man, you have to realize what that sort of sets you up for. albeit with low volatility and the dollar being risk on, even though it's, this was risk on sort of upside. Now it's breaking back down. You can't expect too much. Individual positions are different, so we're going to keep looking for those. We've got McKees's 1K at the 345. We'll see how he does. Not sure where he is right now. Interesting buy over there. We'll see how he does. I think what we're going to do is, after he tells us to get out of that, right, we'll turn that into the community fund, and for each trade, one of you will be in control of the trade. So McKees has that play. If we end up with, like, I don't know, let's say we get 5K out of that, something like that. It's not going to be that high. But when he exits, someone else takes the reins, makes another trade with that money. I think that's what we're going to do going forward. I think it's a fun idea. So from 1K, we'll see what we can do with 1K there. He's doing good so far. It's a nice trade. It's a fun trade. So there'll be something fun we can do, and I'm going to set it up with like a poll system. We'll vote who each week gets to control the control the fund, turn it into something. It's going to get blown up immediately. Somebody else, Brian's going to get it, and then he's going to go like completely out of the money Tesla calls or something. Can't even afford those probably, but and then it gets blown up. But yeah, Tesla 1000s get blown up, but that's all right. Facebook weeklies, yeah, it'll be like Facebook weeklies, and it gets blown up the first week. So either way, I think it'll be fun. So yeah, only playing earnings. Everyone votes for Brian every week. So we'll see. We are getting some bid here at close. Let me see what the book is showing. I don't really see anything in the book. I think it's fake. It's just going to be tightened over here, it looks. It's just going to be a tight close. It is Friday. You get all your action earlier. And like I always say, Fridays are sort of slow trading days. We'll see what the algos think. Maybe they do some buying. And it would be tech anyway, right? You need some liquidity here. We got 1 minute. 1 minute. See if maybe we can add a couple points here. We're only up 38 basis points on the NASDAQ. Can you get it up to 0.5%? Just return up to here? That'll be interesting. We'll see. Don't really expect much. Sort of already got the day. Let's see, do I need to do anything? Oh yeah, hold on. How much time? We got 30 seconds. Oh shit, hold on. Let's fix let's not lose this. Okay, sweet. Okay, so we got 8 seconds. See what we close at here across the market. We'll go through all the positions. Honestly, a great week, right? This was a really great week. A difficult week to start. But let's just go. Let's bring it back. Honestly, a great week, right? So here's Monday. Monday we came out of Friday last week. Friday, just to recap, last week we put some positions on, betting for the upside. We got it. We were not sure Monday. We put more short-term positions on Monday going into the Tuesday. Tuesday we got the gap. And the last few days we've been trading day trade to swing trade. We were only really able to push from yesterday into today. And now we've fully transitioned today, taking profit on this whole move. Every single day we've had positions that were really breakout, 40, 50% on the underlyings. We had a lot of charts that, it's not so much I do add the luck word in there. You do get a little bit of luck when you get some of those gap ups, right? But being able to continue that trade is important. And we had a lot of that this week, and I think it's important to learn from that. Those of you that were not able to make those trades off of the gaps, those are difficult trades, but being able to handle those trades, not exit them immediately, I think is important. And I think how this week closed and going into next week is going to be a very good learning lesson for come Monday, how you were able to finish off this week. So, I typed a lot in the chat in terms of transitions and everything. I realized every single one of my positions here this week. If there's those of you that are sitting unrealized, you're going to be up awake all weekend, right? Thinking about your positions. I hope on Monday my positions open higher, or I'm going to lose all my money, right? You don't want to be that person. And that's why I always talk about, I'm going to sleep like a baby tonight. I'm going to sleep like a baby. You do not want to be one of the traders that's going to be up all weekend saying, well, I hope my bet that Monday is going to be higher it's going to happen. You don't want to be that person. You didn't have to be. All you had to do was realize your profit and add new positions on. So I added a lot of new at the monies to out of the monies. We had a lot of fun additions that we can put on. I think when you look at some of these trades that we made today, now that market's closed, some of these trades are really going to turn into something probably pretty large, right? In terms of positioning. And this is not so much a short-term trade. This is a long trade, like for Zoom, for instance, right? This wasn't just a day trade and you're done, right? This is a position that could really turn into something like the travel trades, right? These positions, yeah, you got this captured right here, right? You captured this move, but guess what? Look at your upside potential here, right? You have a lot of room here. We're back to that value-oriented positioning, and so you wanted to put those on, but you still wanted to be careful. We put the home builders position on here. Yeah, we're looking for this to continue here, but you're not going to sacrifice the points that you have, right? SunPower, we put SunPower on at open today. Yeah, of course this is going to go further, but it was like over here. We weren't going to sit in this whole consolidation here, right? We're not going to screw around. We're going to be careful in terms of entries, and we're not going to do trades that everyone else is doing. We added more to the VRM trade. SSYS, we continue to push that trend. Penn, we've talked about a lot. Here, we transitioned as well. Trendline comes in, you transition into new contracts, get out of those February monthlies, add in some March, and go further. We're looking for 200 on Penn. Up to skills here. The skills is a little difficult because you've got this trend. We get the gap. You have to be able to hold up there, right? That was the important day yesterday. And today we get a big move on top of that. This is where you get into true exponential. And again, this comes down to your portfolio. How do you manage this position? In terms of transitioning and everything, sometimes you're going to be just pushing the same position you have here because just the way it lines up. I notice that a lot of you, if you have a small position in here, you probably can't transition. You're most likely just pushing the same position, if not just fully taking profit. HTXT is difficult as well. This does not line up well. We talked about the tightening in here this morning, right? This position, you have to make a judgment call, and you just need to go with it, pull the trigger, right? That's just how it's going to work. Apps, the gap up yesterday, same moto. If you get the gap, you need to be able to continue. We bought it. We only just bought it on the open here, right? Because we got this trade, it consolidated. We never really entered it. We entered it on the pullback from the gap yesterday, and we pushed it here, transitioned for over the weekend, added new. Resin is similar. We just put on through that 674 VKTX trendline transition, FLNT, FLGT as well. If you guys remember from yesterday, or from this morning, excuse me, we took that break this morning. This is a great trade here to push over the weekend. You don't need to do anything with that, right? You just keep pushing that. The bill, talked about it right here when it broke this trend line, that it's more than likely, right? I said it's higher. It's a higher probability that you're going to climb up to the next trend line, right? When it broke this trend line, here we are closing above this position here as well. You have to transition that, right? You hit that trend line, take the profit and add the new at the money to out of the money contracts, right? You can't be sitting here and going, woohoo, yeah, we're up a few 100%, and now I'm gonna hold this position over the weekend, and for every 1% on the underlying, I'll get 1% on my contracts. When all you have to do is take profit there, get the new at the monies, and now you're getting the exponential again, right? So don't kid yourself. TDC, what are you gonna do up here? You hit a trend line. You think the same moto, you're going to transition, but guess what? You didn't have to buy more because it was a true rejection, right? True rejection, you're done. It was a 1 second decision. That was it. Hold on, I'll give you it. It's a 5 minute. Get the 5 minute chart here. Here you go. You do the same thing every single time, and through that, with that practice of knowing that you need to transition at trend lines, buy at support, sell at resistance, you're able to always make the correct decision without knowing what price is going to do next. Price could have continued past the trend line, and guess what? You would have been able to capture that because you're looking to add on new contracts, right? So that's why we use this, because, again, you can do it both ways. And so, I mean, this was a very good week. And let me take a look at the profit section here. We've got Maybe I don't. Maybe we'll call out everybody. We got Matt with -4. Okay. Glizzy Brian with -50. This is for today. Most of these people have done very well for the week. So those listening, they've done well for the week. Just losses today because I'm sure they're adding further risk. C traded with the 1300. Great gain there. Let me hit them with the gains. Shark with the 1450. That's a 32% this week. That's a great gain. Definitely doing some good shit over there. Spoon with the 11. And then McKeesis again calling out now that he's in here. Here's McKeesis' 1K position. The 345 average. He told us to hold. We held. Silly position, but again, this is going to be the start of our Unrefusables fund. So McKeesis, once you get us out of this position, it goes to someone else. They're going to be buying, selling. We'll head it to the next person. Go on from there. So don't screw it up. Let's see. Do we have anything else in there? No. Is the fund a hot potato? It's basically a hot potato, yeah. But you know it's going to end in flames. For those of you heading out of here, those of you in Europe and everything, obviously have a great weekend. I will see you on Monday. I'm going to keep looking at stuff here, so those of you still in here, we'll keep looking at shit. But those of you heading out of here, have a great night. Have a great weekend. Watch out for Charge Sunday. The video will be up it's already up, but I'm waiting for the HD or whatever to process, so you'll be able to see that in a few minutes here, it looks like. And then those will be up, and you might have some more content come out this weekend, but yeah. Enjoy, of course. Let's take a look at some other charts. Those of you that are in here, I think there's. Let me see. Where is? Let's go over travel a little bit because travel. These are difficult decisions to make over here. So depending on what you want to do in terms of putting on risk and everything, I think you have to take this trade here in terms of what we understand. Taking this trade on support. And you think about where the other airlines, are. We continue to do very well with Save, for instance, pushing this position, but of course understanding that there is a chance that it's going to take a few days come the beginning, right? Become the beginning of the week. And so some of these, this is why you need longer term, because if you're stuck in February's, you've got 2 weeks to expiration, and you're gonna get burned out of that position, right? If you have a day that it's not moving to the upside, you're already losing probably 10-20%, right? So yeah, that's a little too much risk. So for those, you had to be very careful, because you could have these large gains and then you're actually you're losing it, right? For really no reason other than just sort of a lazy or sort of an ignorance to the fact that just because the market's going up does not mean your position's going up, right? So it's important to be able to see some of these. These are going to be very interesting. When we look all the way across here, some of these are a little behind. And I think we talked about it last night, talking about a few of the other positions that are lagging behind. I think it was UAL, for instance. These are still lagging behind. So it's going to be interesting to see what exactly happens in terms of some of the charts that are lagging. It's almost like the mega cap dynamic, right? Where you have mega caps that lag all of them in general in terms of the fangs, right? But then they catch up, and we've had a lot of violent swings back and forth, right? This price movement has not been good. It's good for us to trade in a short-term style, but it's not good for a trend, right? It's not healthy price movement, and it makes life difficult for basically everybody, right? We can't really push positions that are very volatile. We can take advantage of them and attack, and so when the time comes, we'll take it on the breakout, and when reversals come, we take profit. But for instance, these positions, we added a lot of those mega caps, right, on this candle here, and also the Microsoft from this week, right? You add these positions on, and can you really push this over the weekend? Not really, right? You can't really put that over the weekend, so you have to capture that gain somehow. And, let me show you the Google chart. You look at these, and there's just not much that can be done here, right? And when that happens, if there's no clarity, then you don't take the trade. So I think there's plenty of places where there's clarity, places where there's not, and we're going to stick with the clarity, right? If there's something that's clear, we take the trade. We don't need to we don't need to take trades that are sort of getting hyped and are unknown, right? We don't know, then we're not gonna guess, right? The TSM trade. So we have a few semiconductors that, of course, we're looking at. AMD has been very bearish, but then when we look at sort of TSM here, it looks good for going into next week. I think if you had this or UMC, these are completely fine for over the weekend. I have this UMC position. We talked about from open what we were going to look for. And then if you take a look at NVIDIA as well, NVIDIA broke back down through the consolidation. We talked about this. You're likely still within the consolidation, right, when you didn't break out here. And so it's going to take a little bit more time, right? It's going to take a little bit more time on these. A lot of the space here is it lost demand, right? It lost demand because of, one, we are categorizing solar and clean energy with semiconductors, right? Solar is a form of semiconductor, is basically what we've categorized it as. And so when you look at some of these charts, they're actually very similar to the semiconductors. And so if we consider these all a sector together, they're going to trade back and forth, take demand from one another. And so it's going to be interesting probably next week to see what the catch-up mechanic is on some of these, because I mean, you look at them, they're not looking great overall, but some of them stand out, right? So it could be a situation where you have a leader, the catch-up, and the likes. BABA is an interesting trade going forward. I actually just redid the chart this morning, those of you that weren't here, from the flag that I had, because the flag got a little bit rejected here. This is one of those trades that you just sort of have to take, right? You don't have the clear break here, but you're in a level of supply. Going into Monday, I expect China is going to continue to do well in terms of these tickers. So again, we'll see what Hang Seng does on Monday, but this type of trade, I think you just take it. You don't have much risk of a downside, right? Because you do have you have a trend line support, you have a support here, but your upside potential is so much greater that in this situation, you take it and you have time, right? You actually have time. And if there's increased volatility and it breaks even, your contracts will at least gain value, right? So I think at worst, you're break even, and then you should still be able to gain value even if your underlying is break even. And if you look at this in relation in terms of the other charts, you can see how that actually has taken some demand. Some of these other Chinese tickers have taken demand from the most bullish tickers. And so, you look at some of the moves this week, it's clear that the sector is sort of converging back with one another, which does help for them all to push forward to the upside better, because before they were consolidating at different times, which kind of screws with the actual ability to push price, because they every single day are trying to converge back to the other tickers that they're sort of sectored with. And tech is terrible at that. Tech will do that where this is where the flows are on such a short term. This is why the mega caps look the way they do. You have this situation where the flows are going on such a short-term schedule that they're bouncing back and forth between the tickers, and so none of them are ever able to really get a trend going. That can change here as we sort of go into this new direction where we might actually be able to sustain a trend going forward. And again, we were, but this week, since this drawback from the week before when we had to sell everything that Monday, you've sort of made it a good enough move that you can start a trend, right? It wasn't a perfect consolidation to say the least, right? And we talked about that, this sort of quick touch and go, but it is sort of transposing this trend line. So, this is not really an example. This is just going to be an example of it. But if you have like a trend line through here somewhere, right? It just transposed the trend line, right? And we talk about this a lot, where when a consolidation happens, the trend line, it moves further down. You lost time, and that's what that trend line move is. You just lost time. That's all. And so a better example would just be with the actual market, right? Where you're within a channel, you consolidate, and you have the same trend continue. You just lost time. That's all. And so sort of where we are, we're coming back into that. This is where we sort of have this bet right now that SPY is going to reach 400 by that February monthly mark of February 19th, right? I mean, those right now have paid, right? Those have paid, and we're going to continue to push that because that was the bet. We're not going to go against our bet on that, but that's certainly the trajectory you're on, right? Even if you slow down, let's say you come back and bounce on this on Monday, which again, is probably the most likely case unless for some reason we are very bullish because of it's sort of like today we had the jobs numbers and the jobs numbers were bad. So then everyone goes, oh, good, jobs numbers were bad. Great, we're going to get stimulus. Perfect. Right? The stimulant to the stimulus, right, is bad numbers. So we'll see how that gets affected on Monday because that's not always a good, that's sort of like a cheat code where you enter it, but it's going to hurt you later. So a health boost in the meantime, but it's going to impact you probably later. And so we'll see how that gets affected on Monday. But yeah, what a week. I mean, thinking of some of the uncertainty we had early in the week and then the way we actually handled it. I mean, again, when we critique ourselves in terms of confirmation, we might have been a little bit too passive on Wednesday. We still were pulling the trigger on individual moves, but in terms of the market, we certainly thought there was a little bit of pause there in terms of the rejections here, and we looked at it in terms of value over here. We were slowing down to the point where it wasn't clear, but that open on yesterday made it very clear, and we really pulled the trigger Thursday open. So I think it was a good bounce back in terms of understanding, because I mean, again, you never really know until you see it and you get confirmation. So looking back, we still could not add a very long position here come Monday. So sort of those other times that I've talked about where we go 100% into the market and we're certain we couldn't here because of the dollar, right? The dollar broke out. Here's Monday, the dollar broke out, and we were not sure if that was a risk off sign or not. It's not until really yesterday into today that we can say, okay, that's actually a risk on dollar. That's money converting into the U.S. to buy U.S. equities. You never really know, right? The volatility came down, but we know volatility is a bit bullshit right now, right? We know that it's low, but we know it was a little bit bullshit. And so in terms of price moves, right, this is telling us that no, there's no fear, but it's not telling us that no, there's not going to be a price move, right? This is not priced in an actual volatility move because, again, this is really all, it's so correlated towards the downside right now. So that sort of does not help us in our understanding while the implied volatility on options is so high. And that's why I continue to talk about that this underlying chart, whether it's the spot VIX or the indices themselves, and I've said it's again, the line that is quoted the most is that the stock market or the underlyings, as we call it, are the derivative of the actual options themselves, right? And so we continue to use the options market to understand where we're going, how price is going to move because of that gamma situation, that based on that ramping of options buying, how quickly is price really going to increase, or it would be the other way. As they expire, how much is going to get taken off? So again, we're going to continue to look for that. I'm going to do a deep dive this weekend into a lot of the options. Maybe I'll post some of that stuff. I think I can post some of that data. We'll take a look at those because, again, we want to know how well are we going to trend going forward, and that trend is going to be dictated by this equation of how many calls are being bought, right? That's it. That's all it is. So let's take a look. Brian that says dollar's starting to break back down. Absolutely broke down from this level here today, at least. In terms of whether this continues going into later into today and then into Monday, I mean, it certainly looks like it. I mean, if you look at this in the same way that we look at other charts, I would say since it's still above this top trend line, right? This trend line here, then it's still on the breakout side. Once it breaks through these trend lines here, so we're going to extend these, right? Once it breaks through these, then it's breaking down, or it's at least not breaking out, right? But until then, we're still talking about it going to the upside. I think that's an important concept that we continue to utilize when we're looking at patterns, is that as long as it's above that trend line that it broke out of or broke down from, then it's still heading that way, right? So we need further confirmation. Now, these two converging here might lead to the exact spot, right? We talked about that a lot. We talked about on like the Chewy charges here recently, where that trend line comes in where that horizontal is, and price loves to break through those, right? When you have two converging levels of supply, price finds it. It will consolidate to that point, and then it will break through. It's not a coincidence. It's not some weird trick that happens every now and then, and you can say, oh, yeah, look, almost every week we have at least one chart that does this, and we are there before it happens, right? This wasn't like now today, see? No, we did this well before, right? We did that the open before, had the line. We did it yesterday. We entered the trade, and now here today, we're up over 3.5% on Chewy, which looks great for the upside, right? It looks like great upside here. This consolidation was a little heavy comparatively, but you have this trend here that should continue, right? Just copy paste your trend line over, right? This trend over here, whichever angle, let me maybe choke up a little bit on it there. Go like this. That's quite the trajectory you have there. And again, it's basically a continuation from this consolidation, but we see this every now and then where you get your pattern breakout, you rally, but then market reasons actually bring you back into consolidation until you go again, and it's usually that flag, but it's that flag that's not a true flag, and I'll never go out there and draw the flag over here, right? But it is sort of a trend line break that it's a continuation of this this consolidation here, right? And so these type of trades, I love those trades, right? Love those trades through the levels. The most gruesome one that everyone remembers is, of course, the Fay chart right over here. It's hard to look at it now because of how large the candles are, but if we bring this back here, right, you have a macro trend line and a resistance here, and this trend line, by the way, comes all the way back from here, right? About a year-long, 2-year-long trend line, and see how price decided, today's the day. Now, there was a news event as well, but right through the converging supply levels, right? And that's where we continue to buy more. We bought more. That was not the end. We bought more on top, continued that. So these type of trades, again, this is when a big move is coming, it will do that, right? It doesn't. If a breakout's coming, it will break through it. Not if price just is like randomly trading around it and melting around and in the prairie having a good time. No, it's a breakout. It's when a breakout is occurring. So keep that in mind. But in terms of wrapping this up, the boys from Wall Street Bets, they tried to fight back today. This movement here, again, it's Friday, so with expirations coming today, of course, any bid is going to lead to some market makers having to buy because they're now realizing, okay, we might need to pay on contracts up here. But as soon as that was not going to be the case, they, of course, are able to sell, and we come right back to where we were. This is the previous all-time high that we closed at. This is the all-time high from back here. If you take a look, right back here. So whether that's meaningful or not, I don't really know. But it's not really a supply level, but it did decide to close there, and I guess we could call it a supply now. But either way, again, this was predictable. We, of course, did not trade it on this side. We traded it over here, had some fun with it on the first few breakouts, made good money, right? I even told people not to post their gains in chat, so definitely made some money. But now the show's over there. We basically have left them out to dry. Haven't really mentioned them very much, but good for them for continuing their chances. Don't really think we have much else. Let's see, we got someone else in. What do we got? We got Catnip with a 7,335 for the year so far. That's a great gain. What is it? February 5th. That's a great start. You continue that. That's what? I don't know. A pretty decent amount. At least a six-figure year, I would say. Not bad. If anyone has anything, let your mind be heard, or let your comments be heard now. But otherwise, we're going to enjoy this damn weekend. That's for sure. And I don't think I have anything. I don't think so. For charts this week, I might bring back some weekly charts if I see some weekly charts. I was looking during lunch at some weekly charts, maybe some weekly charts, but all that's going to happen over the weekend, our charts are going to get a little bit longer term, but other than that, everything's the same. All right, doesn't look like anyone's got anything. Yeah, enjoy, if you guys are football watchers, enjoy your football game. Go Sports, hell yeah, great, woohoo. Otherwise, go Tom Brady. Enjoy your weekend. This was a really fun week. Glad we had a lot of action. You guys had some great alerts coming out. Certainly helps everybody, helps me. Keep on top of charts. I will see you on Monday. So until then, have a good one, guys.